So hello there, Alistair. Thank you for joining the Overseas Athlete Podcast. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I know it's been quite a quick turnaround for us, connecting last week and getting onto this, so I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to it.
No, good. Looking forward to answering whatever you want to ask me.
No problem. Well, I'll let you kick it off. Generally, what I'll do is I'll ask people just to tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, and where you sort of are now. I know you're back in England, but we'll go back into your travels and what you've been doing.
Well, yeah, I'm back in England. 3 weeks now after returning from Cambodia, which, as you said, we'll get into later on. The journey to what I am now as a football manager started, what are we now, 20 years ago. Various different clubs at various different levels, right from grassroots and to this point now where I sit talking to you as a manager that's just returned from the Premier League in Cambodia, and that's kind of where it's temporarily kind of halted at the moment and waiting for the next one. So that's the short story.
And you're very young. How old are you?
38.
38, and 20 years of coaching. You've just been always interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. I mean, when I was 20 years ago. Before that, really, I for some reason management was always in my mind. I don't know why. I like many lads, I always enjoyed playing Football Manager. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I knew that for various different reasons, being a professional football player wasn't going to happen. But I had this drive, incentive to want to be a football manager. And even now, I don't really know why, because a lot of people could say there's more negatives to positives to being a football manager, but those small positives that there are about being a football manager drives me to do it. And so I started early as I could, really, and with the aim to be that football manager. When I started with under nines in Buxton in Derbyshire, that's where it all started.
Right, okay. And as roughly an 18-year-old?
Yeah, 18, 19. I'd just gone to university to study football studies. And I knew that, I had to get the coaching started straight away and get as much experience as I could. I was really driven to do it. But again, I don't know where that drive came from to want to do it. It was just there. So I followed it, and yeah, it was a grassroots team that started, and it went from there.
And then just a lot of experiences. Was it mainly in youth football when you started off? Obviously, being young yourself, I would imagine it would be. Was it mainly with the kids to begin?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it started under nines with Buxton Football Club, and that I'll always remember that grassroots club for where it all started. And yeah, for the first few years, for the various different teams and clubs that I was with, under nines to under 15s, as it should be, starting with the kids. Because I mean, I say this now. I think the best coaches are the coaches that work with the young kids, because I believe that's where they develop the most. As a manager, I know this now as a manager, when you get players come to you, you want them to be ready. You don't necessarily want to have to coach them as such. You can develop players in the first team to a point, but you want them to be ready. So I now firmly believe that the best coaches are the ones that work with the kids, and that's where they can be developed. And that's what I saw when I worked with, the young age groups. Having said that, when I did work with the age groups, I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy it, but in my head I had that I just want to manage. Even when I was 18, 19, I wanted to be a manager. So the coaching aspect was okay, but I had this inner driving me to, even at that age, to want to be a manager.
That's interesting, isn't it? There's not many people who come across that age that are that sort of, I guess, dead set or keen on being a first team manager that young. I suppose back then the focus is always on playing if you can.
Yeah. I really don't know why. I just, the thought of managing, the thought of winning a game of football as a manager was great, and that stayed with me ever since, really. And losing isn't brilliant, got to be honest. But yeah, even when I was coaching the under-9s team when I first started out, I was just obsessed with winning then, which was wrong because they're under-9s. But I love the feeling of winning a game of football that early on. So yeah, it's that's always been with me, and so that'll never leave, will it?
No, that's right. Still the same now, no doubt.
Yeah.
And where then did you spend that sort of, how long did you spend in that sort of youth setups between different clubs and different age groups? How many years were you in there, sort of in that on the ground coaching?
Wow, I mean, once I started university, my goal was to get to where I am now as quick as I could. So I did what I had to do. You write off to a million different clubs, want to coach, want to get some voluntary coaching. And a lot of what I did was voluntary, as it should be, because, I'm learning my trade. So, you do what you have to do. You travel up and down the country like I did, whether it was Macclesfield, Academy, Birmingham City, Sheffield Wednesday, Buxton, I did what I had to do to learn, and there was a lot of learning, that I took on. But it didn't really matter what club or level really it was. It was just about learning how to coach footballers, wasn't it? And come up with your own ideas and how you want to play football, what tactics you want to use, all these kind of things, and very quickly you learn that this is going to be your way of playing football. This is going to be what your way of coaching footballers, because I think, whether you're managing a first team or whether you're coaching an under-9s team, you've got your mannerisms, haven't you, of how you want to deliver what you want. And those mannerisms, I can tell you now that I have now, I had when I was 18. They've obviously, I'd like to think, improved in the way I deliver things, but they haven't changed in my approach and my thinking to football.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's good to see, as you say, to have a clear idea at an early age is good. And obviously then it's just the sacrifice and putting in the time over years and years and years to, as you say, fine tune it and improve it as you go along.
Well, yeah, and I think that word that you've just used there is really important, sacrifice. And I think for any young coaches who are 18, 19, who want to progress in their career, the sacrifice that you have to make. Well, you don't have to make it, but it's beneficial that you do, because it takes a lot of hard work to get to where you want to get to. I'm nowhere near where I want to get to, but the sacrifice that I've made, or sacrifices that I've made in my attempt to make this career, have been huge. There's so many sacrifices, but that's what it. I believe that's what it requires in any career, not just football. In any career, to make the best of what you want to do.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And you're right. It doesn't matter what profession it's in to get to the top. There is a lot of hard work, sacrifice, dedication that comes along with it. So in saying that, by the sounds of what you're saying there, I guess your dream goal is to be a full-time football manager at the highest level.
Well, up until 3 weeks ago, I was, maybe not at the highest level 3 weeks ago, but I was a full-time professional manager, and I class myself as one now. I'm just not at a club at the moment, but that's football management. You leave clubs, you move on, you join clubs. But people have asked me in the last 20 years and even in the last week, where do you want to be? And my answer is always, I want to manage at the highest possible level that I can. There's no specific league, there's no specific club or country. It's simply to manage at the highest possible level that I can, and I'll do my bit to get to that level, but that can never stop, I don't think, can it? Because there's always another level that you can get to. So I feel that will always be an open question, I think.
Yeah, I know, because you think, from a player point of view, even a coach's, football manager's point of view, when you think of football, you think of the Premier League as, the pinnacle and where everyone wants to be. But the whole, the conversations that I have around this is that there's so many opportunities out there in the world, in all remote parts of the world, as you'll go into in a minute, that you can be a full-time professional player or manager. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you literally everywhere. But it's what you're prepared to do, where you're prepared to go. That word we just use, sacrifice, what you're prepared to sacrifice to give it a go. So there are endless opportunities. They're difficult to find in some ways, because these kind of jobs, these kind of roles don't just end up on your doorstep every day. So, but there are opportunities there. It's just, what are you willing to sacrifice to do in your early career, or it might be further down your career, where you've still got to make the sacrifice. It's a never-ending kind of road, isn't it? Really, to be honest.
Yeah, if that's what you want to do, and you've got that dream, and like that, if you're 18 or you're 60 and you want to be a football manager, there's, as you say, there's opportunities out there, and you can find them, and that's what we'll dive into. So, you've obviously been in Cambodia for the last couple of years.
Yes.
Now, were you in England before that role came up? Was that where you were based?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
All right. So the question then is, how did that come about?
Well, I mean, I've been at Leicester City. Well, I was at Leicester City. Again, striving to find this first manager's role. Difficult to find. Alistair Heath isn't a name that's on the front of everyone's mindset, which is fine, because why would I be? But I knew I wanted to find the opportunity, and as we've just talked about, opportunities can happen anywhere, and this one happened in Cambodia. It got put to me through an agent, and talked to the club on more than one occasion, and I'm sure, like most people, we don't know a great deal about Cambodia or the Cambodian Premier League. So after various talks and a lot of thinking, trust me, a lot of thinking, I didn't well, I had a choice, but if I wanted this career to take off and get the experience as a manager, then the answer was very simple. I had to take it.
So going back to the initial point, you said that an agent put that across you. So
Yes.
I did see, you're at Leicester for several years coaching in their international academy. Was that you obviously trying to find these full-time opportunities? Did you engage with different agents and ask them to put things in front of you? Or how did that come about?
Most days I'd be searching for agents, searching for people in football who have the links that I don't have. And, Book Sports, who I dealt with for the past couple of years, they're based in Singapore. Yeah, they just happened to know of this opportunity. And but it wasn't the first agents I found. It was probably the 101st agent that I'd found. Again, going back to that hard work ethic and the sacrifice you have to do to if you want it, you've got to go and do something about it. So that they came up with the opportunity, and like I said, after a lot of thinking, a lot of talks, it was decided that actually I need to take this. I need to go for this. I don't know much about the Cambodian Premier League. I don't know much about Cambodia. I can do the research as much as I can, but as I found out, nothing was going to prepare me for that challenge.
What was the research you done? So they've sort of come to you and said, all right, look, we've got this role. It's in Cambodia.
Yeah.
What are your first thoughts, apart from maybe where is Cambodia?
Well, I mean, I spent so many years in Thailand in football, not knowing that, this is bad of me to say, but not knowing that Cambodia's on its doorstep. But the difference in the two countries is so vast, for various different reasons. But very quickly, you have to start looking into Cambodia as much as you can. Google. One or two people that I know of had dealings in Cambodia. But apart from that, really, you're just relying on YouTube videos of various different things, you know. So there's only so much you can do. But as I said, as I found out that the best way you can learn about it, the only way you're going to find out is when you get there. And all the research in the world would not have prepared me for you know, that role.
So quickly touching on then, you've done a bit of research. You know,
Yeah.
you've obviously watching YouTube, Googling things. It might tell you about Cambodia and a little bit about the league. It's probably on, you know, the surface level of what you now know. Speaking to the clubs, what were the conversations you were having with the club, and was it the club owners that you were dealing with?
Yeah. It wasn't the best information, to be quite honest. Yeah, it's difficult to say. I mean, the chats I had were actually when I was there, when I got there, you know, because I wasn't given a great deal of information, whether it was pictures, whether it was text, whether it was, I don't know, video footage. There wasn't a great deal. I spent a lot of my time on Y Scout, which is footage of pretty much every team in the world. And but again, that didn't, you know, yeah, I saw some games, I saw some players, but it was just get here and then learn on the job, you know. And if I'd have known what I knew before I got there, you know, you're thinking, would I have took it? Because you know, challenging isn't the word, really, you know. But having said that, as a first time manager, you know, I think you need to learn the hardest way, which I did.
What was the first impressions like when you landed? What was the process from there when you've landed in Cambodia?
Well, I mean, the two things you've got to adapt to a different culture, but you've got to adapt to a different culture working as well. You know, so there's the two aspects. The heat was the first thing more than anything, really. To be honest, the humidity, the way of life. But you just have to get on with it. You know, you have to very simply adapt to it as quick as you can, realising that, okay, we haven't got our own training ground, but there's a couple of venues that we can train on, which are not the best. You know, it's very much kind of, you know, you've been at Leicester City for however many years, brand spanking new training grounds, you know, quality everywhere you look, and you know, you get into Cambodia and it's, you know, not that. Which listen, you know, that's the way it is, and I really do believe that for all the challenges that there was, I'm a first time manager. I've got no right to expect the best facilities, the best standards. You know, why should I? I have to learn the process of being a manager. You know, so there's not going to be many footballs. You're not going to have many cones. You're going to train on a pitch which has got dogs on it, cows walking around the side of the pitch. You know, chickens everywhere, because that's Cambodia. There will be animals wherever they want. So you're having to work around these kind of things, you know. So it was very much adapting to a different way of life, but a different way of working as well, you know. And you have to accept it that if these dogs want to run onto the pitch while you're training, that'll happen, you know. If whatever animal wants to walk around the side of the pitch or actually walk onto the pitch, you know, that's just the way it is. So in the end, you get used to it. But at the start, you're going, well, this is different, but, you know, this is just the way it is.
And how long did it, when you first got there, you said you sat down and had the talks with the club owners. At this point, did you know if you were coming to a big club in Cambodia, a small club, just one of the average clubs that are there?
I very quickly worked out that, look, the fan base is fantastic, and that's what I worked out very, very quickly. Fan base was fantastic, but I worked out that I was coming to a challenging club, you know. And like I said, the research I did before I came wasn't enough. The league consisted of of most teams that financially were okay, had their own facilities. There was a good structure. This club was a little bit short of that. Like I said, no, didn't have their own training ground. They didn't own their own ground. So, very quickly I worked out that it was going to be more of a challenge than I thought, and for various different reasons. And I'm sure as we'll go on, this contributes to what happens on the pitch on a match day.
And at this point, when you'd got there, how long of an agreement had you signed?
Year's contract. Which I thought, okay, that's okay. Suss it out, see what it's like. Because at the same time, and as I look at it now, and I don't know if this is the right way to look at it, because at the end of the day, you need to win games of football. But I guess personally, it's almost a work experience year in some ways, in terms of me learning on the job. But at the same time, you haven't got time to learn. You've got to win games of football. So getting that balance between the two. But because of the nature of the club, because of how many challenges there were that you faced, which most clubs didn't have, I thought, well, it's a no-lose situation, because it's such a difficult environment anyway, that they're not expected to win the league. That's impossible. Can't happen. Just kind of playing in the league, surviving in the league is surely okay. That was my interpretation very early on. A lot of the players were young. Most of the players were young. And they're not like young players in England where they've had a great coaching background. They've been coached from an early age and they understand the game tactically, technically. Absolutely not. So whilst they were good lads, so much learning was needed. And I looked at it where, well, this club just needs learning from top to bottom. And the challenge is kind of getting greater every day.
And the word that we mentioned before with sacrifice. So what had you left behind in England to take up this role? Just your role with Leicester, or are you married with family?
No, single. I'd left behind a job at Leicester where, let's go to that word, comfortable. I could have stayed in a comfortable role in the youth development phase. I don't think the risk of getting the sack there was high. I don't think, unlike moving into a manager's position where if you lose a few games of football, you could get the sack. But I've never been about being comfortable. I don't want to be in a comfortable position. I want to be a manager to the highest level. So I have to remove myself from any comfortable situation to put myself in a very uncomfortable situation, which is what I did.
And then when you first sort of, so you got there, you said, as you said, you could see it was going to be challenging. You've obviously come from a very football experienced background. Even being young, if you're at Leicester City for a few years, I know what you mean. You're in a proper environment. You see a lot of things. So you can tell straight away that, you've got a huge challenge on your hands. And as you said, maybe staying in the league is a positive. But what was the owner's remit for you? Where did they see you coming in? Where did they want the team to finish?
Well, the owner, I think, wanted lots of success, which doesn't every owner, which is fine. But I suppose my conversations with the owner for the whole time I was there was, we all want success, but you have to invest in the whole club, not just the first team. The first team, the academy, you have to have investment. Once you invest properly, then you can talk about success. Unfortunately, for reasons I don't know why, the investment wasn't there. But not just in the first team, the academy, which was really important as well, so important, which I highlighted a number of times. The structure of the academy was poor. And if you're not going to invest in the first team, then you have to invest in the academy for players to come through. And that didn't happen either. So, like I say, very quickly, these things were worked out in my head, and it just became a bigger challenge every day, really. Because we all want success. Everyone does. We all want to win every game of football. We all want to win the league, and no one more than me. But obviously, you have to invest properly if you want that success. That's my opinion.
And the league itself and the structure of the league, how many teams are in the Cambodian Premier League, and how many have youth teams or academies?
Well, there was 8 last season. There's now 10 in the league this season. Every club has an academy. I think that's a requirement to gain your license for the league. And knowing most clubs in the league, their academies are pretty good, pretty well run. And like I said, we had the club has an academy, but it's my opinion, it's not the right standard, which I'd highlighted to the club, quite a few times. I'd even offered to take over the academy early this year because I felt that it was a great chance for us to bring through players when we're not able to buy players. You see, that offer wasn't taken on, but the academy was or should have been a real strong link. Which it wasn't, like other clubs do have, but again, it just comes down to investment, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does in football now. It's very much a business from top to bottom. And as you were saying there about the sort of the academy and the structure and the players, how many foreigners did you come across in Cambodia?
Well, each team in the league is allowed to have a quota of, I think, 6 foreign players, and you can play 5 in a match day. And then obviously your squad's made up with Cambodian players. So obviously the foreign players make a big difference to the level of football in Cambodia. They bring the experience, the technical ability, obviously the tactical knowledge. They're important players.
And what countries did you normally find that they were from? Were they quite mixed, or were they just from local sort of countries around Cambodia?
Mixed. I mean, I brought in, was it 2 from England, a couple from Australia, Spain. So it varied, to be honest. It was turning out that, and I think this will continue, that Cambodia was quite an attractive proposition for the foreign players.
And what were the conversations like you would have, say, with the 2 English boys? That where had they come from, or where were they playing before you'd sort of reached out to them to say, come and join me here?
Well, one, Ben Nugent, he was a professional in England. He played for Brentford, Cardiff, I believe, and he was looking for an opportunity. Great lad, central defender, I think 30, so a good age, and he wanted a different experience. And he came over, and his work ethic wasn't it? I'm sure he's still great mentality. So you are finding now that a lot of players around the kind of 30 age mark who have kind of struggled to continue that road in professional football in England are looking at Asia. It's becoming a bigger market for them, to be quite honest. And whilst our club, couldn't offer the wages that other clubs do in Cambodian Premier League, it was still an attractive enough proposition for them to come into the club. So I think Asia is looking more and more attractive for many players, not just English players. Many players.
Yeah, we see it a lot. We have a lot of Australians, obviously, that go there because it's
Yeah.
close and we're now in that confederation in that region. So we have lots of Australians go there that either come out of maybe our local NPL, which is underneath the A League here,
Hmm.
or the A League sort of youth teams, and they'll take up deals over there.
Yes, yes, that's what I mean. Like I said, it's very attractive now. Whether it's the living, you know, or just don't want to progress their career somewhere different, and yeah, Asia just seems to be not just Cambodia. You know, I mean, Thailand's doing very well. Yeah, I think Asia is a growing, definitely a growing market.
And just when you touched on the sort of you guys not having the money to bring in,
Yeah.
too many foreigners, but just from what you sort of heard or seen around the place, what can players earn if they wanted to go and play in Cambodia as in that Premier League level?
Well, they can certainly earn more than they were at my club. Um, I think there's a chance to earn good money. Well, in fact, I know there's a chance to earn good money. Well, I think there's a number of foreign players on $5,000 to $6,000 a month, which listen, that's all right. Certainly in Cambodia, that's okay. And the local Khmer players, look, they're not on that, but they're certainly touching maybe $1,000 a month, which again for a Khmer player in Cambodia, that's pretty good. So I would say that if you go to the right club, there's a chance to earn decent money, possibly more than you'd earn in the country that you are from.
Yeah, definitely. That's also been, some of the feedback and the figures that some of the players are getting that might have moved from Australia. I've spoke to one or two from Spain as well, and it's the same. They just coming outside their country. There does seem to be decent money in Asia, and again, if you're willing
Yeah,
to take that chance and sort of the risk versus reward is definitely there if you sort of get lucky. There's obviously bad stories
mm.
in those
Oh
regions as well, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I've heard. I mean, I think it depends on the club.
Mm.
It's all. I mean, I'm sure we might touch on this later on, but you've got to have the right club. My experiences now have told me that you have to, depending on what you want, it's all about getting the right club. Because if you don't, then there's a chance that things can go wrong. You know.
And coming back then to your own sort of processing,
Yeah.
as you said earlier, you've got there, you go into the training ground, which isn't really a training ground. There's animals sort of running around everywhere. You're probably thinking to yourself, what am I doing here? But how did you then work through that on a day-to-day basis to get your teams ready to play football on a Saturday?
Well, then you've got to look at it where you've got a football and you've got a grass, and you've got to get on with it. I think it would be very easy, and I'm sure at times a lot of people would say, and rightly so, that I was, not happy with certain things and would show it sometimes. But you have to get on with it. You have to use what you've got. But I do go back to what I said earlier on that if we're talking about me personally learning how to be a manager and what's required, why should I be given the best resources, facilities, whatever? Why should I? Because I've got no divine right to. So I've got what I've got, and this isn't Leicester City. This is Angkor Tiger in Cambodia in the Premier League. This is not your comfort zone. This is completely out of it. Go and do what you can. So, whilst would loved it to be better, because there are teams in that league who have got better training facilities, but that's just the way it was. So I accepted it and didn't always like it, but I accepted it and thought, well, I've got to do what I can to improve these players, improve the team under challenging circumstances. But at the back of my mind, knew that the the aim to be successful was going to be much tougher because of all these little things, and there's so many factors that help winning a game of football on a Saturday, which I now know. It's not just training on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. There are so many different factors which contribute to the team winning a game of football, and it will always be a challenge at that club until things develop in a more positive way.
And what did you learn about, not just, I guess, probably yourself first, facing all those challenges for one, probably telling yourself, I'd imagine that, you want to coach at the highest level. And as you say, this is the work experience or,
Yeah.
starting somewhere completely random. But what did you sort of, what have you come away with from your time there that you go, all right, I'm much better at this, and this?
Well, I think personally, I would like to think that other people might tell me differently. I'd like to think that I have improved as a person. I've possibly grown up a little bit as well. I've developed my social skills. I've developed my work ethic. So, from that point of view, I feel that I've learned a great deal. I believe I'm a different person to when I first moved to Cambodia to this point, as I talk to you now. But also from a football working side of things, I know what I'm prepared to work with and what I'm not prepared to work with, what I'm prepared to accept, what I'm not prepared to accept. I now know what you need to be successful as a football club. And I'm not just talking about success in winning the league, I'm talking about success in bringing players through from the academy, success in terms of winning more matches than you lose. Success in terms of bringing players through to the national team, so I know what's needed to get this short-term success, long-term success, but also what I would put up with and what I wouldn't put up with. And again, I go back to that phrase, work experience. I don't like to use that, but essentially, from my perspective, looking back at it, that's what it was always going to be. I was never, and I don't think I'm a negative person, but I was never going to achieve the success I wanted to at this club. It was never going to happen through various different factors that we've probably touched on. But, I look at that time actually as a learning experience for me. It's given me more drive to be a football manager than I had. It's given me more love for it because I now know how to do it. Not that I didn't in the last 18, 19 months, but obviously I've made a ton of mistakes. I made countless number of mistakes, but don't we all? And I feel like I am now ready to be a manager. Whilst when I went into Cambodia, like we said, it was that, okay, the work experience learning is going to take place here.
A leap of faith in a way. The Cambodian one, I'll go and try it, get experience, and take it from there like that. You're still young. You've got loads of time ahead of you.
Yeah, I mean, you can do all your coaching badges, but they don't prepare you for this. I don't believe anyway. I mean, how can a coaching badge prepare you for a training ground in Cambodia where all sorts is going on? It just can't. So I backed myself while I was there. But very quickly realised what a challenge this is. But I love challenges. And at the time I'm questioning the challenge, but actually loving it at the same time.
And what did a training week look like for you then? And not so much even on the field, but off the field in regards to nutrition, hydration, injury management, that side of things. When you're in a country like Cambodia, and as you say, at a club that might not have all the bells and whistles that you're looking for.
Well, there was so much I wanted to do that I simply couldn't. I didn't have the staff to do pretty much most of the things that you've talked about. I had last season I didn't have a goalkeeper coach. This season I did. I had a couple of other members of staff, and that was it. So, when you talk about nutrition, GPS, being able to deal with injuries properly, the there's so many things that I just couldn't manage, couldn't monitor, couldn't implement. Just didn't have the staff or the facilities. So that was frustrating because you want to do things properly, you want to do things professionally, just couldn't. So again, you have to adapt and you have to just get on with it, and think, right, we haven't got this, we haven't got this, we haven't got that. Okay, just get on with it. Did I like it? No. Did I probably show I didn't like it quite a few times? There'd be some days where we wouldn't actually know where we was training up until an hour before, whether it's because there was a big monsoon and we couldn't get on that training pitch, so we might not be able to train, or we wasn't sure what training pitch was booked for us. So there was so many kind of different factors, which were challenging. Not ideal when you're trying to prepare your team for a game of football. But, that's what I'll go back to what we've talked about earlier on, is that, learning to deal with these different factors now should benefit you long term when you have got the facilities, when you have got the proper structure. So it should be a walk in the park.
And how did you, taken away from the, I guess the club or the players' overall nutrition and hydration, how did you deal with it personally coming from England into Cambodia? How did you find yourself, like, with just your general shopping for food, cooking? Like, was there enough sort of readily available for you where you were to make the most of it?
I mean, when you arrive and you go, I can't just go down to the local shop here and buy what I want, or, I haven't got my car now, or, I didn't want to. They all ride motos over there, and I lasted a week. I thought, I can't do this. I'm either going to run over someone or just fall off. It ain't going to happen. So I was given a bicycle, and so you just cycled everywhere, and you've got shopping in both hands, and you're trying to balance the bike, and it's just a different way of living. But you adapt because what choice have you got? It takes a while. Like the heat, you just adapt to it, and in the end, it's 38 degrees, whatever it is, and you kind of not noticing it's 38 degrees. You're just getting on with it. So, the life skills that have been learned in this role as well, going to one of the toughest countries that there is. There are tougher ones, but it's certainly up there. I'm pretty sure you class Cambodia as a third world country still. I think I'd be right in saying that. They've had a lot of issues in the past, haven't they, which we all know about, which they're probably still suffering with a little bit, the kind of backlog of that. But, great people, really nice people, welcoming people. Like I said, the fans were great, the players were great. Just an overall, just a challenging environment that you either adapt or you don't. And if you don't, you have to leave. It's very simple.
And the league itself that we sort of spoke about before, where you've got 8 teams last year, are they quite close together in regards to geography? And how sort of far are you between, one team to the next?
Well, this was the other challenging factor. So you've got Phnom Penh, the capital, where pretty much every team is in or nearby. And we was in Siem Reap, which is 6-7 hours away from the capital. So when we had an away game, you've got that journey. And we only had the budget to stay one night, so we'd have to go the night before, stop, play your game the next day, and then make that big journey back. Which again, another aspect which wasn't ideal. Ideally, you'd like to be staying a couple of nights before and maybe staying the night after the game as well. So yeah, location-wise, that was a difficult one, knowing that you've got to make that long journey every other week, or sometimes back to back. So it's, like I said, so many different factors which made it difficult.
And I guess that's not something that would even probably cross your mind at the very beginning when you're considering the job. No. You're probably looking more at the job. That's something that you think, you just deal with it when it comes. But as you say, if you've got somewhere where you can do the right research and go, all right, okay, well, there's 7 teams in this area, I'd rather be at one of them.
I think there's a lot of things which, if I'd have known before I took the job, you're sitting there going, don't know about this. You know, again, I'm glad I didn't know. I'm really glad I didn't know, because there'd have been more scope to go, I'll stay where I am, thanks. You know, but looking back, I'm glad I took it.
And how long were you there then overall? 18, 19 months, did you say?
Yeah, about that. Yeah. So I was into the second season, 4 games in. You know, for me, looking at it now, I think, and again from very selfish reasons, I got everything I needed out of it. You know, there was never going to be the success that I would have loved, because it was just, I'm not saying it's impossible. Impossible is a word that I don't want to use, but it was very, very difficult because of where the club was at. Any club can be successful. Any club can be great, but there's got to be a plan. There's got to be a structure. There's got to be a lot of investment, you know. And once you've got those things, then things can take off.
And is that why you've ended up leaving? When did you leave? About 3 or 4 weeks ago? Is that a culmination of that? How did that all come about?
No. So we were 4 games in. We'd won 1, lost 3. It was about where I thought we was as well. You know, it wasn't a complete shock, and the owner said he's going to move on without me. You know, bit of a shock really, because we hadn't started brilliant, but for where the club is at, you know, we were where I thought we should have been. I'd have liked a couple more wins, and you know, we were a bit unlucky in a couple of games. So it was a bit of a shock, because you know, there's not too much more you can do with a team if you're not, like I said, I'll keep going back to this, if you're not going to invest in the club, the players, the structure. You know, it's just not going to. But I've known this for a long, long time, and I tried my very best to change it, to, you know, to get through to the people at the top that we need to really improve these things, need to change this, need to change that, to give ourselves a chance. You've got the fan base is fantastic, but other things need to come along, and they didn't. So it ended 4 games in, unfortunately.
So they came to you and just let you know that's it, basically.
Yeah, that's what they did. Yeah, over Zoom on a Thursday night, and that was that.
And if you don't have to go too far into it, but with the how does that work then from a, you know, just say from a contract point of view? I'm just interested in all this sort of behind the scenes stuff. Is you're under contract for another year, I'm guessing then? Did you sign your 1 year and then you'd signed a second year?
Yeah.
Is that why you
signed the second year? Yeah, signed the second year. So, but they chose to not have me there. You know, I didn't ask too many questions. I didn't ask any questions. Yeah, and because in some ways, you know, there was a little bit of relief, because I found myself banging my head against the wall so many times with areas of the club which I'd explained needed work on, investment, got to sign better players, got to spend something, you know, got to improve the academy. If we don't improve the academy, players aren't going to come through. I was bringing players through, but they weren't at the level, but I had no choice. So when you're relaying messages consistently and nothing's happening, you come to the point where you go, well, there's not much more I can do. And I want to do a job where it's done properly. You know, where if I'm given the tools and I still don't deliver, okay, no problem, absolutely no problem at all. That's fine. But if you haven't got the tools, it's going to be very difficult to do anything.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right, and it can make it more and more challenging. But from as you said before, like from a selfish point of view and from a development point of view for yourself, having 18 months managing a Premier League team somewhere in the world is fantastic to have on the resume.
It is. I mean, you know, one thing I don't want to do when I talk to you or anyone is kind of put the club down. I just talk as openly, honestly as I can about what I did and didn't have. You know, didn't have a big backroom team, didn't have the facilities needed. Didn't have so many things that you need to be successful. So, and that was worked out very, very quickly, into the first season, and it didn't get any better, unfortunately. But obviously, you try and do what you can to make it work with the limited resources that you have. And I'd have carried on up until the end of this season. I'd have given my best shot. But it was. I won't say it was too much of a challenge. There's never too much of a challenge, but the chances of success were too far away. It was too far. But from what I've learned, again, what I've learned about what I will work with, what I won't work with, what I will accept, what I will put up with in terms of, if you want success, well, provide what is needed, and then I'll give it a good go. So much I've learned about what I can put into the next manager's role. That so much.
And what is that sort of strategy and plan now? Obviously, you're back in England.
Yeah.
Are you back in touch with agents and different people to look at now just fresh opportunities?
Yeah, exactly that. Really, looking to get straight back in. I back myself. I believe I've learned so much from Anglo Tiger, and I thank them for that. Even now, I thank them for giving me the opportunity and giving me the opportunity to learn what I've learned. But now, I am very ready to get back in with the right club. Who know what they want as well, and are going to provide a plan of what they want. But I loved doing what I did at Anglo Tiger, as tough as it was. But that love I have now is very, very ready for the next one, and wherever that next one might be. Again, like we've talked about in this chat, the right club. It's all about the right club and what they want, and if it matches what we both want, then that's great.
And with that being said, and also the experience you've had, you now be open to going anywhere. I suppose the country and geography part of it doesn't faze you.
No.
A lot of opportunities there.
Yeah, I mean, I've done Cambodia, so I think I can do pretty much anywhere. But again, it just comes down to the role which is going to benefit me, but how I will benefit the club as well, because the two have got to work hand in hand. I don't feel that I was benefiting Anglo Tiger in the right way because they weren't benefiting themselves. So there's got to be that two-way thing, and it's all about the right club. The country's not so much relevant, but the right club, where there's a good chance of delivering success, because both me and the club are on the same wavelength of where we want to be.
And was there anything, I know obviously at the start you wished, there was ways to maybe do more research about the leagues and, the geography and the clubs. Is there anything other, things sort of off the field that sort of took you by surprise in regards to maybe travel, accommodation, banking, little things like mobile phones and SIM cards? Was there any major headaches? Was there anything you've sort of gone, I need to think about this next time?
Really, no. I mean, once you've done what I've done, and I'm sure many people have done, moved to Cambodia, change your lifestyle completely, not just a little bit, completely, adapt to a completely different culture. Once you've done that, I think you're capable of going anywhere and doing anything. I'd lived in South Korea for football prior to Cambodia, and like I said, I've done a lot of Thailand. So, put all that together, I think you're pretty much set to take on any challenge anywhere now, really, because you expect that you have to be open-minded to anything, and nothing will become a shock. Nothing will become a surprise. You just go, okay, right, it's like that now, so just deal with that. Or, okay, I can't do that like I do in England. Just do it this way, and you just get on with it. Very simply get on with it.
Yeah. And what's have you started any discussions with people? Is there anything potentially in the pipeline for you?
I've spoke to a few people, but nothing at the moment. But I said to myself now that look, whilst I'm still not, I would class an experienced manager. I think I've got enough scope about me now to not so much be picky, but take my time in finding that right club. Who are going to how do I put this? Who are going to kind of appreciate that they can be a good club with the right plan, and appreciate that I will have good ideas and they need listening to and take them on board, and so it just goes back to that learning experience that I've had, and whilst there wasn't the success that I would have loved, what I've taken from it personally is huge, and that's going to benefit the next club, which is why now just taking a little bit more time in finding the right club, because I don't think I'm in a position now that I was when I took the Angle Tiger job, where I had to take it. I need this job. I've not been a manager. It's a chance to be a manager. I have to take this. When now, whilst I've got a lot to learn, I don't think I'm quite in that position now.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. You've got that couple of years under your belt, and as you say, you've seen a lot and experienced a lot in the last 18 months. That as you say, you know what you want, or the environment that you want to be in as a football manager.
Yes, I think that's it. It's the environment you want to be in. And look, nothing's going to be perfect. Nothing's going to be ideal. No. There's always going to be struggles. That's just life, isn't it? That's not football. That's life. But I think you can certainly do your bit to kind of make sure that it's not as much a struggle as it is. You can collectively, the club and yourself, can do your bit to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, and either from a player's point of view or a manager's point of view, anyone that was thinking of going to the Cambodian Premier League, what sort of advice, outside of that club structure that you're looking at, what other sort of advice would you pass along to people like that?
Be open-minded. Very simply, be open-minded, and don't put an idea in your head of what it might be like. Don't have anything. Just go and be prepared for whatever comes your way. Really,
just live it.
Do you know what? Yeah, just live it, because it'll go very quickly. I mean, 18, 19 months has just gone by. Flown, absolutely flown. And I look back at the start of my time there. I'm not going to say I enjoyed it, but now I look back and go, well, that was quite easy, actually, to be quite honest, because I'm still here, I'm still alive, still breathing. So it was okay. So just be open-minded. That's about anything. About life. Just be open-minded.
Yeah, no, it does sound like as I said earlier, like there are so many opportunities out there in these different countries that people might not think of. Interesting to say that you said you can see a lot more sort of English going across there. I know there've been a couple. I know there's a lot of sort of Brazilians end up in Asia.
There is,
the Spanish, the Australians, but it's becoming more and more of a pathway for English players. Yeah,
it is. I still don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe they just get fed up with the system in England. It's a more relaxed way of living, a more relaxed way of life, maybe. But yeah, it's certainly opening up, and I think that's going to carry on. I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's going to get bigger and bigger for English players. Just make sure you pick the right club, because it can be very frustrating if you don't.
Yeah, no, definitely. Oh well, Alistair, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate all those sort of insights and information around that, and we wish you all the very best in any new ventures that come up.
Thank you very much. It's been good to talk to you. Thank you.
No problem at all.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, it's all done, mate. That's stopped.
Cool.